Corvus is a widely distributed genus of birds in the family Corvidae, ranging in size from the relatively small pigeon-sized jackdaws to the common raven of the Holarctic region and thick-billed raven of the highlands of Ethiopia. The 40 or so members of this genus occur on all temperate continents except South America, and several islands. In Europe, the word crow is used to refer to the carrion crow or the hooded crow, while in North America, it is used for the American crow, fish crow, or the northwestern crow. The crow genus makes up a third of the species in the family Corvidae. The members appear to have evolved in Asia from the corvid stock, which had evolved in Australia. The collective name for a group of crows is a flock, or a murder. Recent research has found some crow species capable of not only tool use, but also tool construction. Crows are now considered to be among the world's most intelligent animals, with an encephalization quotient equal to that of many non-human primates. In medieval times, crows were thought to live abnormally long lives. They were also thought to be monogamous throughout their long lives. They were thought to predict the future, to predict rain and reveal ambushes. Crows were also thought to lead flocks of storks while they crossed the sea to Asia. Description: Corvus species are all black or black with little white or gray plumage. They are stout with strong bills and legs. Sexual dimorphism is limited. Evolutionary history and systematics. The members of the Corvus genus are believed to have evolved in Central Asia and radiated out into North America, Africa, Europe, and Australia. The latest evidence regarding the evolution indicates descent within the Australasian family Corvidae. However, the branch that would produce the modern groups such as jays, magpies, and large, predominantly black Corvus species had left Australasia and were concentrated in Asia by the time the Corvus species evolved. Corvus has since re-entered Australia and produced 5 species with 1 recognized subspecies. The genus was originally described by Linnaeus in his 18th-century work Systema Naturae. The name is derived from the Latin corvus, meaning raven. The type species is the common raven. Others named in the same work include the carrion crow, the hooded crow, the rook, and the jackdaw. The genus was originally broader, as the magpie was designated C. pica before being moved later into a genus of its own. At least 42 extant species are now considered to be in this genus, and at least 14 extinct species have been described. No good systematic approach to the genus exists at present. In general, the species from a geographical area are assumed to be more closely related to each other than to other lineages. But this is not necessarily correct. For example, while members of the carrion, collid, house crow complex are certainly closely related, the situation is not at all clear regarding the Australian, Melanesian species. Furthermore, as many species are similar in appearance, determining actual range and characteristics can be very difficult, such as in Australia where the 5 species are almost identical in appearance. The fossil record of crows is rather dense in Europe, but the relationships among most prehistoric species are not clear. Species: North American urban corvid history. Corvids are found in major cities across the world, and a major increase in the number of crows in urban settings has occurred since the 1900s. Historical records suggest that the population of American crows found in North America has been growing steadily since the introduction of European colonization, and spread east to west with the opening of the frontier. Crows were uncommon in the Pacific Northwest in the 1900s, except in riparian habitats. Populations in the West increased substantially from the late 1800s to mid-1900s. Crows and ravens spread along with agriculture and urbanization into the western part of North America. Behavior: communal roosting. Crows gather in large communal roosts numbering between 200 and tens of thousands of individuals during non-breeding months, particularly in the winter. These gatherings tend to happen near large food sources such as garbage dumps and shopping centers. play. Countless incidents are recorded of Corvus at play. Many behaviorists see play as an essential quality in intelligent animals. Calls. Crows and the other members of the genus make a wide variety of calls or vocalizations. Crows have also been observed to respond to calls of other species. Presumably, this behavior is learned because it varies regionally. Crows' vocalizations are complex and poorly understood. Some of the many vocalizations that crows make are a cow, usually echoed back and forth between birds, a series of cows in discrete units, a long caw followed by a series of short caws, an echo-like a or sound, and more. These vocalizations vary by species, and within each species they vary regionally. In many species, the pattern and number of the numerous vocalizations have been observed to change in response to events in the surroundings. Intelligence. As a group, crows show remarkable examples of intelligence. Natural history books from the 18th century recount an often repeated, but unproven anecdote of counting crows, specifically a crow whose ability to count to 5 is established through a logic trap set by a farmer. Crows and ravens often score very highly on intelligence tests. Certain species top the avian IQ scale. Wild hooded crows in Israel have learned to use breadcrumbs for bait fishing. Crows engage in a kind of mid-air jousting, or air chicken, to establish pecking order. They have been found to engage in activities such as sports, tool use, the ability to hide and store food across seasons, episodic-like memory, and the ability to use individual experience in predicting the behavior of environmental conspecifics. One species, the New Caledonian Crow, has also been intensively studied recently because of its ability to manufacture and use tools in the day-to-day search for food. On 5 October 2007, researchers from the University of Oxford presented data acquired by mounting tiny video cameras on the tails of New Caledonian crows. They pluck, smooth, and bend twigs and grass stems to procure a variety of foodstuffs. Crows in Queensland have learned how to eat the toxic cane toad by flipping the cane toad on its back and violently stabbing the throat where the skin is thinner, allowing the crow to access the non-toxic innards. Their long beaks ensure that all of the innards can be removed. The jackdaw and the European magpie have been found to have a nidopallium about the same relative size as the functionally equivalent neocortex in chimpanzees and humans, and significantly larger than is found in the gibbon. Crows have demonstrated the ability to distinguish individual humans by recognizing facial features. Evidence also suggests they are one of the few non-human animals capable of displacement. Diet. Crows are omnivorous, and their diet is very diverse. They will eat almost anything, including other birds, fruits, nuts, mollusks, earthworms, seeds, frogs, eggs, nestlings, mice, and carrion. The origin of placing scarecrows in grain fields resulted from the crows' incessant damaging and scavenging. Although crows assist farmers by eating insects otherwise attracted to their crops. Reproduction. Crows reach sexual maturity around the age of 3 years for females and 5 years for males. Clutch size is approximately 3 to 9 eggs, and the nesting period lasts between 20 and 40 days. Crows often mate for life, and young from previous years often help nesting pairs protect a nest and feed nestlings. Crow nestlings in urban areas face threats such as nest entanglement from anthropogenic nesting materials and stunted growth due to poor nutrition, lifespan and disease. Some crows may live to the age of 20, and the oldest known American crow in the wild was almost 30 years old. The oldest captive crow documented died at age 59. The American crow is highly susceptible to the recently introduced North American strain of West Nile virus. American crows typically die within 1 week of acquiring the disease and very few survive exposure. Conservation status. 2 species of crow have been listed as endangered by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service: the Hawaiian crow and the Mariana crow. The American crow, despite having its population reduced by 45% since 1999 by the West Nile virus, is considered a species of least concern. Problems with crows and methods of control. Intelligence and social structures makes most crow species adaptable and opportunistic. Crows frequently cause damage to crops and property, strew trash, and transfer disease. In densely populated areas around the world, corvids are generally regarded as nuisance animals. Crows are protected in the U.S. under the Federal Migratory Bird Treaty Act of 1918, but because of their perceived destructive nature, control of the species is allowed in certain areas. Because of their intelligence, control is an expensive and perplexing proposition. Methods for control include hunting, chemical immobilization, harassment and scare tactics, and trapping. Before any measure is used to confine, trap, kill, poison, immobilize, or alter the habits of any wild bird species, a person must check local, state, and federal regulations pertaining to such actions. Hunting in the United States. Hunting is allowed under state and federal regulation. Crow hunting is considered a sport in rural areas of the U.S., because the birds are not considered a tasty traditional game species. Some cultures do treat various corvid species as a food source. Liability and possible danger to persons and property limit the use of hunting or shooting as control methods in urban areas. Crow's wariness and cunning make harvesting crows in sufficient numbers difficult. Scare tactics. Scare tactics have been the most widely used diversion tactic for crows in areas frequented by humans and domestic animal species. This safe method does not require constant maintenance or manpower to operate or monitor. However, corvids quickly become habituated to most tactics such as blast cannons, predator decoys, and traditional scarecrows. Greater success has been achieved by adding sound and motion to predator decoys to mimic a distressed crow being caught by a predator such as an owl or hawk. Work is currently being done which uses multiple aversion techniques in one area. The theory is that multiple techniques used together will confuse the crows, thereby lessening the probability of habituation to stimuli. Trapping. Trapping is a rarely used technique in the US, but is being used with success in parts of Europe and Australia. The ladder-style trap seems to be the most effective in crow trapping techniques. Ladder traps are constructed in such a way that unintentional catch of non-target species is avoided. If a non-target species is caught, it can be easily released without harm to the bird. The traps are cost-efficient, because they are inexpensive and simple to construct, and require little manpower to monitor. The bait used in the traps can also be specific to corvids. Carrion, grains, unshelled raw peanuts, and shiny objects in the trap are effective baits. When removing crows from a ladder trap, one living crow is left as an extremely effective decoy for other crows. Trapping is considered the most humane method for crow removal because the crows can be relocated without harm or stress. However, most wild birds in general have a knack for returning to their home ranges. Other methods have been used with little or limited success. Lasers have been used successfully to remove large flocks of birds from roost structures in urban areas. But success in keeping crows off roosts has been short-lived. Homeowners can reduce the presence of crows by keeping trash stored in containers, feeding pets indoors, and hanging tin pie pans or reflective gazing globes around garden areas. As a food supplement, crows were hunted for survival by Curonians, a Baltic tribe, when common food was exhausted and the landscape changed so that farming was not as productive during the 18th and 19th centuries. Fishermen supplemented their diet by gathering coastal bird eggs and preserving crow meat by salting and smoking it. It became a traditional food for poor folk and is documented in a poem, The Seasons, by K. Donelitis. After the non-hunting policy was lifted by the Prussian government in 1721–24 and alternative food supplies increased, the practice was forgotten. The tradition re-emerged after World War I. In marketplaces, butchered crows which were sought after and bought by townsfolk were common. The hunted crows were not the local, but the migrating ones. Each year during the spring and autumn, crows migrated via the Curonian Spit between Finland and the rest of Europe. In 1943, the government even issued a hunting quota for such activities. Crows were usually caught by attracting them with smoked fish or grains soaked in spirits and then collecting them with nets. It was a job for the elderly or young who were unable to go to sea to fish, and it was common to catch 150 to 200 birds during a hunting day. Human interaction. The common raven and carrion crow have been blamed for killing weak lambs and are often seen eating freshly dead corpses probably killed by other means. The Australian raven has been documented chasing, attacking, and seriously injuring lambs. Rooks have been blamed for eating grain in the UK and brown-necked ravens for raiding date crops in desert countries. In Auburn, New York, 25,000 to 50,000 American crows have taken to roosting in the small city's large trees during winter since around 1993. In 2003, a controversial, organized crow hunt proved ineffective at reducing their numbers, and the problem continues. At a technology entertainment design conference in March 2008, Joshua Klein presented the potential use of a vending machine for crows. He suggested the crows could be trained to pick up waste and the vending machine would be designed to give a reward in exchange for the garbage. Crows have been shown to have the ability to visually recognize individual humans and to transmit information about bad humans by squawking. Crows interact with humans and appear to show appreciation by presenting them with gifts.